Hi, I'm Stephanie Dyer, and this is Escape Into a Cause, the podcast for people who want to discover ways to step up for their community in the Austin metropolitan area and discover the amazing work happening behind the scenes with Central Texas nonprofits. Every week I talk to Courtney Dickey, who is the president of Junior League of Austin last year and has served in nonprofits for over 15 years. We unearth a topic that matters. And this week is one that has fascinated me for a long time: altruism. Is the good we do ever truly selfless? Or is there always some personal reward, whether it's feeling good, looking good, or growing your business? If you live in Austin, you might have seen Cord Shiflett. He's a local realtor, and he's been documenting his volunteer work during the Kerr County floods this summer. He was out there rallying volunteers, clearing debris, and helping Summer Camp reopen just 10 days after the storm. His daily social media posts drew admiration, volunteers, but it also drew criticism. Some questioned his motives. Was it to feel like a hero, to get attention, to help his business? Or is he just maybe a dad imagining his own kids in that situation and wants to go do some good? No matter the motive, it brings us to the heart of the question: does the why really matter if good still gets done? Psychologists debate this. Some say no one is truly selfless. Others say selfless giving is possible. And then there's one of my favorites, Adam Grant. He is an organizational psychologist. He talks about this otherish giver. So not a selfless giver, not a selfish giver, but an otherish giver. Someone who helps others while also acknowledging they may benefit in the process. It's also this idea that you can put yourselves in other people's shoes, which some psychologists argue is why you can't be completely selfless, is because you're seeing yourself in others. So if someone's actions, like Cord Shiflett's, rallies hundreds of people to make a real impact, do we need their motives to be perfect? That's for you to decide. Then we get to escape into a nonprofit that lives and breathes the spirit of giving hungry souls. I sat down with Breanna Porter and Claire Hutson, the entire two-person team running the incredible organization. No government funding, no big staff. These two women, the founders, the board, and then their army of volunteers that do it all for free. They are all feeding children and families facing food insecurity in the Austin area. Here's how it works. During the school year, thousands of kids rely on school meals to eat. But what about weekends and breaks? Hungry Souls fills that gap with weekend and holiday meal deliveries, ensuring kids and families have food when school isn't in session. Anything beyond what Breanna and Claire do is powered entirely by volunteers and community support. We talk about what it takes to run Hungry Souls, their impact, and the ripple effects that they see in the lives of families they serve. It's a story about what can happen when a community decides no kid in Austin should go hungry. So let's dive into the messy, fascinating world of altruism and then escape into the powerful work of Hungry Souls. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Steph.
Later today, we are escaping into Hungry Souls, an organization dedicated to feeding children and fueling futures. Hungry Souls is tackling food insecurity by providing nutritious meals to children and families in need. They work with schools, volunteers, and community partners to make a real difference here in Central Texas.
Amazing.
But first, before we dive into them, we are going to talk about altruism.
Great.
Do you hear about altruism a lot?
You don't hear the word a lot. You hear philanthropic, you hear good deeds, volunteering. I don't think people describe themselves as altruistic or doing things that are altruistic in nature.
Yeah, it's more of a philosophy. While it's maybe not spoken that often, it's very much an underlying layer of thought about why do people do good.
Yeah.
So altruism is the belief in or practice of selfless concern for the well-being of others and is not influenced by considerations of personal advantage. So helping others at a cost to oneself, although I've seen some philosophers argue whether it has to result in sacrifice. But look what I have here. Do you see this book?
Give and Take by Adam Grant.
Have you read this one?
No.
Okay. We know that we both like Adam Grant.
We love Adam Grant.
I know. Okay, so he first compares Craigslist. Do you know what Craigslist is?
Of course.
Great. I think most people do.
Yeah.
It's a network where you exchange.
The original Facebook Marketplace.
That's right. Products and services, usually in exchange for money.
Yes.
And then there was someone named Darren Beal who came up with a similar exchange called Free Cycle, but it was all free. Have you heard of them?
No.
I haven't either. But it talks about how it's a radical departure of the Craigslist exchange exchange, no currency or trading allowed. Everything's free. He dives into whether this is altruistic and givers versus takers. They collected surveys from members of both exchange organizations, and they found givers versus takers. And they said the givers donated about 21 items, but the takers, they still donated 9 items.
Oh, okay.
So give and take.
Yeah, they're participating in the marketplace.
But this is the part that I actually like about this concept is the people often joined Free Cycle to take and not give. People usually hear about Free Cycle as a way to get free stuff. Your average person will join thinking, I can get something for nothing. But a paradigm shift kicks in. We had a big wave of new parents who needed help in hard times. They received strollers, car seats, cribs, and high chairs. Later, instead of selling them on Craigslist, they started giving them away. So what drives people to join a group with the intention of taking, but then end up giving? I'm getting around to this. Altruism is this idea of motivation. If you are doing something out of solely the goodness of your heart, can you truly
expect nothing in return? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether it's even feeling good.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
There's 2 sides of this. So one is, can we be altruistic? There is a psychologist very well known in this space that says, yes, we can be truly altruistic. Daniel Batson. He believes we engage in truly selfless giving when we feel empathy for another person in need. Whereas there are other psychologists that say, no, you're still wanting to feel good at the bare minimum. Adam Grant, I like where he goes with this, is that is self-interest versus the other, right? Who are you focused on? And that there is this mutual benefit of the other-ish, he calls it, where you're benefiting both. The Free Cycle analogy worked well in that people came to take and ultimately they became givers.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason why I really like that is because we can have the debate all day on altruism and are people really doing the goodness of their heart? I don't know how you feel about this, but you don't ask these questions when people are in business. You know what they're doing.
Yes.
They're trying to make money.
Yes.
They're trying to be profitable. But nonprofit space, philanthropic work, giving, being kind, doing something nice, there is that layer of questioning motive, unfortunately. Altruism was coined in the 1800s. So we've had this debate among psychologists, philosophers, people who research biology and whether there's a biological consideration. What are your thoughts? Does it matter? How much does motivation versus outcome matter?
No, I tend to agree with you. I think it's the outcome and it's the direct impact that should matter. Motivation shouldn't matter. The debate is super interesting and you're right to unearth it and say, wait a minute. Corporations are very transparent. They are there for profits. They have earnings. You get to see the earnings if it's a public company. Nobody questions that. And I don't know if it's because of the transparency that everyone says, first, I don't have to question it. But you're right, there's this skepticism. And why is this skepticism pointed towards nonprofits? They also file 990s. They're also pretty transparent about donors, depending on what type of the structure of the nonprofit it is. They have events, they have websites where you can read about their board of directors, their mission, their impact. And so why is there this skepticism? And I think it's just skepticism that's applied to altruism. It goes back to this philosophy, and I know it's this like circuitous conversation, but I think people truly have a difficult time believing that people would do something simply out of the goodness of their heart and to help others. There's the question, what's the motive? Follow the money. Where's the motive? And it's so sad that skepticism is applied to nonprofits when I would say the vast majority of them are actually trying to do very good work with little expectation in return.
Yeah, I think it's a human problem, right? Like maybe a particular person in a nonprofit or a donor. An example of this, we did a topic that matters on philanthropy lists. And the reason is that on social media, I saw that they just posted recently, how much Warren Buffett's giving, the Gates. And the comments are very divided because some people were very negative about it.
Of course.
There's intention there. They're working on their reputation. Who cares?
Yeah.
Whereas others were saying, we should say this is a good thing. What is your thought on that?
As you've been discussing it, I'm wondering if it's easier in the nonprofit, altruistic, philanthropic world to label an individual as opposed to the corporate world. And believe me, there's a lot of anger and annoyance and aggravations with the corporate world, but it's
a shell.
Yeah. It's tied to an entity. It's less personal. But altruism, foundations, like the celebrity list you mentioned, the Gateses, the Elon Musk who has a foundation. We already talked about Bill Gates, the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Those are all tied to an individual. And when that individual falls, it almost puts into question the entire program, the entire world of nonprofit and volunteerism and foundations and charitable giving, as opposed to when that anger or frustration is focused on the corporate world or companies or for profit. It lands on an entity as opposed to an individual. So it almost seems a little bit more personal on the nonprofit side.
Yeah, I'm going to probably offend some psychologists or philosopher out there. I cannot imagine spending my whole life caring this much about motivation and saying outcome doesn't matter.
Yeah. And hopefully that's not what they're saying. And hopefully they're really just trying to understand how human nature works and what causes people to do certain things. But you're right. Sometimes while studying that work is important, because I think human behavior is fascinating, it can cloud what we're really trying to achieve, which is just helping those that can't help themselves. That's all we're trying to achieve. That's all the nonprofits are trying to achieve.
But this goes back to the ultra rich. But the Gates Foundation has done so much. So do we diminish that by saying initially that foundation may have been
tax beneficial reasons?
For tax beneficial reasons and for reputation. A huge driver of that are these foundations funded by wealthy individuals.
Yes, that is correct.
Altruism is very much tied to Buddhist teachings. I've read a book on altruism, and it very much keeps tying itself and linking to these Buddhist teachings versus like in America, we have to somewhat be realistic that we are wired a different way.
Yeah. I mean, right? We're a capitalist society. We've been so proud of that for so long and such a rich country and defining other countries as third world. And we've had that conversation before. But there are cultures, and not even just countries, but cultures where this concept of giving back is part of their DNA. I'm like thinking of families who, of course, my older relatives come and live with me and I expect nothing in return, including rent, because that is my responsibility.
Interestingly, some philosophers will say that you can have selfish motives. You can have motives, selfless, completely selfless, that are for the other, that are altruistic motives. And you can also have a separate motive, which is sense of duty, which is interesting. So then there's that, I don't know, what is a sense of duty, or because it's legal, right? Law or sense of duty compared to altruism. But yes, Myanmar and Kenya, and there's a few countries that are actually well known to be some of the most generous countries for communities. Going back to Adam Grant, he says that oneness is otherish. Daniel Batson, a psychologist that believes that we can engage in truly selfless giving and we can be altruistic. The devil's advocate is Robert Cialdini, who argues there is no such thing as pure altruism. But Batson rebutted this. People can feel empathy. There was an experiment. Batson gave people the choice: watch a woman receive electric shocks or leave the experiment to avoid the distress. For those that stayed, 25% stayed, they felt empathy for the woman. 86% stayed and offered to take the shocks in her place.
What was the percentage?
86% of those that stayed.
Wow, of the 25%.
Of the 25%. And the ones who empathized the most strongly were willing to endure 4 times as many shocks as those who felt less sympathy.
God.
So anyway, this has been several decades debate, and these are the two frontrunner psychologists on different sides of the fence. But Cialdini goes even further, and he objects to this. He says, no, he wasn't done yet. He says, certainly, concern and compassion motivate us to act for the benefit of others at a personal cost. But he wasn't convinced that this reflects pure altruism. He argued that when we empathize with a victim in need, we become so emotionally attached that we experience a sense of oneness with the victim, and we merge the victim into our sense of self. Meaning we are seeing that in ourselves, and the more that we're putting ourselves into their shoes, it's impacting us. And we don't want to be that uncomfortable seeing someone else's pain. And so, I don't know, these psychologists go really deep. And they get very philosophical. But I just like where Adam Grant lands. He's like, there is a sense of oneness is otherish. Most of the time that we give is based on a cocktail of mixed motives to benefit others and ourselves.
So
Takers and matchers may be most likely to give when they feel that they can advance others' interests and their own at the same time. The selfish/unselfish divide may be a red herring. Why try to extract the self from the other or the other from the self if it is merging of the two is the secret behind our cooperative nature? So I really liked that. I liked this idea. Are we collaborative and cooperative, or are we competitive? Are we selfless or are we selfish? And I think that there is such a mix of emotions and motivations that can provide really favorable outcomes.
Yeah, we can be otherish.
That's right. And then recently he wrote on his LinkedIn, which I loved this. He says, generosity is an antidepressant. Depressed people were randomly assigned to give less than a penny a day to a charity over the next 2 months. Moods improved and depression declined. The more they give, the better they felt. Even small acts of kindness elevate mental health based off these studies.
Love that.
I do too. Going back to this idea of altruism, I guess I just don't care as much about the motivation. We find that people show up like they did in Free Cycle as wanting to be a taker, and then they ultimately became a giver. I interviewed Yellow Bike Project, and they said there was an engineer at AMD that owned a BMW, never rode a bike. He finally came in and said, hey, it'd be cool to earn a bike. So he built himself a bike. That's what Yellow Bike Project allows you to do. You repair a bike, build it, and you get to keep it. And then he brought friends to come do the same thing. And they finally said, hey, let's go chat. You can probably help a little bit too around here, right?
Yeah.
And he completely changed his trajectory. He eventually quit corporate life and dedicated his whole life to bikes and getting around without a car. One more thing is I was speaking with a friend about this podcast, and one of my closest friends, and she said, Stephanie, I just don't get how your podcast serves me. And she's very straightforward, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, fantastic. Because we live in this altruistic mindset of you need to do it for good, you need to do it for good. Maybe we're missing out on this way to actually show, hey, go benefit yourself.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll come around and just want to start helping because you'll realize how great it is.
That's fantastic. No, and I think what Adam points out so beautifully is we are interdependent upon each other. And this is a community, and it is a collaborative community. I would say if it's to be a successful community, it has to be collaborative. And that just means reciprocity, and that's okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Steph.
All right. Thanks, Court. We'll be right back. Escape into a Cause is sponsored by Nightlight Insurance Agency. You know how a nightlight gives you comfort and peace of mind in the dark? That's exactly what Nightlight aims to do. Guide you through life's uncertainties with personalized insurance for your home, auto, business, and more. Nightlight Insurance strives to provide its clients the best coverage at the best price without sacrificing on customer service. Here's what one client had to say. Nightlight was able to lower our car insurance significantly, answered all our questions, and returned our calls promptly. Very professional, would highly recommend. So it's no surprise Nightlight has a 5-star rating on Google. Nightlight also makes this podcast possible by covering production costs so all other sponsorship dollars and gifts can go directly to nonprofits and volunteers. And as part of their mission to give back, Nightlight proudly donates $1,000 to every nonprofit we interview. If you are a sponsor interested in giving back to our podcast, please find us on social media and let us know. Nightlight is an agency focused on personalized service and giving back. See how much you could save and how good it feels to have peace of mind by visiting nightlightinsurance.com. Today we are escaping into Hungry Souls. I have Breanna Porter, who leads operations. She is known for being the heart of the team, working directly with schools and volunteers with a deep commitment to at-risk youth. Hello, Breanna. Welcome.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
And we also have Claire Hutson, who leads development and is known for being the logic of the team, which I love. Everyone that listens to this podcast, which is millions of viewers, no, I'm just kidding, knows that I'm the logic in my relationship and is behind community partnerships. She's a recent grad from George Washington University with a master's in public health. Claire is passionate about food insecurity and has worked closely with local farms. You are the two staff at Hungry Souls right here, the powerhouse. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to dive right into it. What is Hungry Souls? What is the mission? What do you guys do?
In Austin, there are so many amazing nonprofits that are addressing food insecurity because there's a gap between what the students are able to receive from the schools as far as support and then what's being able to be provided for them by their caregivers. Those gaps fall on the weekends. Those gaps fall on school breaks, where not only do they not have on the school breaks, the weekly meals, but weekly dinners and such, and even the special meals on holidays. So that's where the uniqueness and intentionality of we're going to cover those gaps. We're going to provide the breakfast, lunch, and dinner every Saturday, every Sunday. And we're going to get fresh fruit. We're going to get 3 pounds of protein. We're going to have great menus. And we're going to make sure that not only are the students, but the whole family is fed. So in a gist, that's where our part of addressing food insecurity is in Austin.
It's not just like, oh, we're giving random groceries. Every family gets a crock pot so that they're able to make those meals stretch. And every family every week gets 3 pounds of protein and they get fresh produce. And it's not just a bunch of canned food. And we give them recipes with specific menus. That takes a lot of the stress out of preparing meals for a large family. Those intentional parts, it makes such a difference. That's huge and it's unique to us. I haven't really seen a model like that elsewhere in the city. That's really cool. We partner with H-E-B Wholesale, which huge. They were able to add us to their wholesale department, and that's kind of unheard of for a nonprofit. We're able to make any community dollars or grant dollars stretch even further because we're able to buy in bulk and they're able to give us a discount. And then we've been able to partner with some local farms too. That really intentional piece, like she was saying, I think that really sets us apart. It sold me. I was here for an internship, and as soon as they offered me a job, I said, say less. I would love to be a part of this team.
You're in. I love that. And to give some context, I'm in Young Men's Service League, which is a mom-son league, and we have volunteered. There are a lot of young men who have shared philanthropies with newcomers, have shared, and a lot of their favorites are like Awesome Sunshine Camps is a big one for us, and they've mentioned absolutely Hungry Souls as a great one to participate in. And just to differentiate, so we've had Austin Baptist Chapel, we've interviewed with them. Angel House Soup Kitchen is their nickname. And I love hearing the different food pantries and the different nonprofits that are feeding communities in Austin that are underserved or don't have access to those fresh foods you were just mentioning, Claire. And I love how you're all hitting a different market that needs to be served. Students and supporting their families. Is that right?
Correct. Qualifying to be in the program, we closed out last school semester with 480 students. And while we have experience in our personal and professional lives to be able to run this nonprofit, we do not have the educational qualifications to identify students. I love that the board, the founders, all of us know what our strengths are, and we go to the source for those that do have the training and the background and are seeing these students every day. With that, it's the schools. Between our rural counties and here in Austin ISD, there's different roles within each schools. Specifically, our schools are Title I schools. And within those schools, there are identified roles. Their roles are to be a parent liaison, a parent support specialist. They are interacting with the most at-risk families already. What we do is open up spots at our various schools. We're in 32 schools right now. With those spots, they get to assess. Sometimes it's because they know what circumstances going on in the home. We had a family added in November. There was a death of an older sibling, took custody. So tangibly, they knew this is a physical need for additional food support. Otherwise, they are leaning on their educational background to identify the signs of food insecurity. It's some of the same things I received as training as a foster parent, where students that are hoarding food, that are the first to rush a food line. In a culture now where there is a lot of pickiness of food, and I'm picky myself, it's very apparent when you see a student who does not care. Because when you experience a hunger and you don't know when your next meal is coming from, every single piece of food in front of you is a yes. Those are some other signs that I know our teachers and our school connections are seeing. But then sometimes emotional red flags are seen, an ability to stay focused, and continued absences just because of chronic sickness and health. If you're not receiving nutritional support, your immune system's not going to be able to handle the cold and flu season well. You're going to be just prone to anything and everything. So those are some red flags that schools are looking for. And then I mentioned like the ability to focus. So much of that isn't just a child not caring. It's that their brain is thinking, what's next for food? What is lunch going to be? And there's a physical grumbling in their stomach that just become almost a white noise. I know that there's potentially people listening to your podcast that know what that's like. I don't know that level of food insecurity. I know what hungry is. Those are the students that our schools are identifying. They are looking for those connections. And then you had asked about feeding the family. Once those students are identified, we're recognizing, Claire, in fact, went through all of our data while she was interning with us. And our average homes are almost 6 individuals. Those 6 individuals are younger siblings, older siblings. They're also children. In the other schools, we can't get to yet with funding. And then with that, there's a caretaker, whether it is a parent or it's a grandmother, a sibling, whoever that caregiver is. In most cases, they're also struggling and hard at work. We want to make sure they've got a good meal as well. So truly, it's our heart to support an entire family. So when we say 480 students, we're actually purchasing the groceries for them plus 4. And so we move through so many groceries, and that's another piece of the fun part, get to later, of what that looks like and how you encountered us with your son serving.
Yeah. And is it all year round, or is it during school?
So funding wise, we are throughout an entire school year. And intentionally, we double up on the school breaks. So we've got 3 critical school breaks of Christmas, Thanksgiving, whether that's a fall break, winter break, and then the spring break. We are all in for those. Fun to partner with other organizations. We did that last year, doing this again this year, so we can get some extras to these families. We do have a summer program, but it is a little bit tougher to connect with our schools. Our model is intentional with there being the accountability with a school contact, meeting with the families. It's ensuring the program is effective, but then it's also ensuring that there's face-to-face weekly contact to assess additional needs. And there's a piece of funding. I mean, we would love to find a way to fund all of our students throughout the summer months. And that can be a long-term goal, but that's also pretty neat to know that there's other nonprofits in Austin that step up specifically for the summer. There are resources. Austin's amazing with having that. That was something that Claire brought to the team, is reaching out to each of our schools to pass on those summer connections.
Yeah, even the city was doing great stuff. They had free camps all over the city with guaranteed meals and snacks. There were some organizations, I know CIS was heavily involved with getting into more schools this summer to be able to meet those needs.
Yeah, it's great. Government and nonprofits working together, because nonprofits are filling in the gap, right?
Absolutely.
So we're approaching 500 families of an average of 5 to 6 people per household across 32 schools. And you're informed by these schools, which is great. There's like no questions asked. These schools know these children. They see the signs and they let you know.
Yes.
That's almost 15,000 meals a week. Is that right? That's all of Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, lunch, dinner, breakfast. We are intentional about having the lunches be some easy opening meals. So if you come in, if you're serving on our packing line, you're going to see some mac and cheese. You're going to see some H-E-B brand, everything H-E-B brand. Shout out to H-E-B.
We shout out to H-E-B on like half of our episodes.
Oh my gosh. What was it? The FEMA of Texas was their new nickname they got for their support for the flood
For
relief.
Kerr County.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And then the crockpots, as Claire mentioned, the circumstances that our families are in, dire in some cases. We don't assume that they have all of those resources to cook and pull out all the accoutrements that we use when we prepare our meals. We also, as Claire mentioned too, if you are a caregiver and you are trying to get meals on the table, trying to come out of the circumstance you're in, which no one plans for that circumstance. That's never anyone's goal, is to not be able to take care of my children. We want truly dinner to be an easy thing. There's nothing easier than a crock pot.
I love a good crock pot meal.
Right. And you can stretch it. My mother stretched it too far, too far with putting extras in there. I'm regaining a love of crock pot meals. And it's kind of fun. I think in our last week, we did crock pot enchiladas.
Comes up with the meals. Bree?
Ish. Which is funny because I'm a single person who eats lean cuisines. It's ironic. But I grew up with a mom who was stretching and making these things happen. So a lot of things I'm like, oh, I ate that as a kid. I've got to shout out just those that came before us in Hungry Souls. So we had a good archive of go-to favorites that we continue to use and for our families. And then we had an intern at Bowie High School named Mabel. She is passionate about cooking. That's how she ended up a little bit with us, is the school was trying to find a connection of cooking and food and landed on us. It was the perfect fit. So each week she was finding new menus and was great because we value engineer these menus. It's like a puzzle piece of like, okay, if we want to get a little bit more into the dinner, then what can we adjust? Maybe this week it's oatmeal and not the cereal. Oatmeal is more affordable than cereal, but we can get more bang for your buck with cereal. It's a lot of that value engineering. Back to Mabel, there'd be times she'd be excited and be like, oh, you can do better. Find a better value on those beans.
Okay, so maybe any listeners that have some really good recipes that are easy to make,
Yes.
send them.
Absolutely.
our way.
And more crock pot recipes. We are excited for those.
That's great. Okay, I might need some of those recipes.
Right, we'll share.
Okay, so great. Doing a lot of work, only 2 of you, amazing. I know that something that's very dear to you is that you don't rely on government subsidies. You rely fully on donations. Is that correct?
Yeah, we find that government funding is just a little unreliable. The timelines sometimes just don't quite align with us. So if we're getting a grant or community partnerships, if we get that money, we can immediately add a family that next week. Whereas that's not always the case if it was going through a larger system like the government. So solely community grant funded. It takes about $30 a week to feed each family. And about 90% of that just goes directly towards groceries. The rest go to like little logistics, the recyclable grocery bags and cold bags and coolers and things like that.
Rent, overhead, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But the majority of it is just for groceries.
Yeah, we're talking about a staff of 2, nothing there. I think it's always really good to know when their dollars, they know that they're going back towards the program. You said $550,000 was how much you raised last year.
Yeah, that's about what our average has been the past couple of years. We're looking to supersede that so that we can add more families. Last year, we were able to add not only all of the families on our wait list at our existing schools, but we were also able to add 5 additional schools, which was a pretty large jump compared to past years. And so we're really hoping to continue that momentum going. I was looking at some numbers a couple weeks ago and figured that for every dollar that is donated to us, we're able to buy $8 worth of groceries. And I feel like that's such a compelling number to understand. So when people are donating to us, it's important for them to understand that we are really able to make those dollars stretch, and every dollar really does count.
Yeah.
And it contributes to adding more families to the program.
Well, with the HEB subsidy and stuff, that seems like a good bang for your buck. Going directly to the groceries and then knowing that the schools are finding and identifying these children. We know that they're going to families in need. Is there a wait list?
Yes, we currently have a wait list for our existing schools, and then we also have wait list of new schools that are trying to get into the program.
Okay. And the way for them to get off that wait list is money. We've gone into the numbers, we've heard the impact. And do you mind sharing some stories that can connect listeners to Hungry Souls?
I think the first story to start with is just our founders, Jason and Celeste Stanford. And great family. I got to know them through my previous job, which then got to spend several months talking to them. And before I made the decision to come over and to Hungry Souls. And they've got some amazing children, huge family, and they love spending time together. They had gone on a mission trip together and had seen up close and personal, like food insecurity, what that looked like. And in that regard, if you've ever traveled and gone overseas or to another country, there is sometimes a very visual representation of chronic hunger. After coming back from that and still processing that, it was like through their kids, they were recognizing that kind of chronic hunger exists here. And it existed within friends of their kids. It's interesting because chronic hunger in our city and nearby doesn't have that look that you see on TV or if you've seen in person. It is very well masked and often overlooked. I think it was a huge eye opener. So their story of talking at home and having one of their children say, but hey, so-and-so is hungry too. They don't have access to food on the weekends. That pivotal first big people story was from one of their kids. That's where they started, just with assisting with one school and coming out of their house and then out of packing and getting food out of Jason's office. Owns a commercial business, and then expanding to where we are today. And then we continue to get those stories of needs, and we'll hear them from our schools. From, I think I'd mentioned there was the family, parents passed away. And so those are just some initial tangible stories of needs.
Do you actually meet any of the children or families? How do you gather feedback?
Not often. We do conduct surveys for feedback, but it always goes through the school. And so we'll give the forms for them to give to the parents, and then they'll gather that from the parents. We also encourage them, and they are in constant communication with those families, to just ask them, how are you feeling about the program? How can we be better? We try to collect those at the end of every semester just to see like, hey, what are we doing well? How can we be better? But
Some faves and not so faves recipes. Is that on the feedback?
Yes, those also. Yeah. What would you like to see more
Yeah.
of? One of the things that we heard a lot last year was we'd love to have more fresh produce. So that's one of our focuses right now, is trying to secure some grants so that we can get more fresh produce into these bags, because that's really what the families are asking for.
That's great feedback to hear. More fresh fruit and vegetables.
Absolutely. And even our protein, I feel like everything is a cool story. That's something we're currently passionate about, is like, who do you know from our volunteers? Almost all of our connections are coming to us. And it's through our volunteers, our board members, other kind of key folks that pour into our organization that are making those connections for us. They're out there being our ambassadors. We have a partnership with the Texas Beef Initiative. There is ranchers in North Texas who are donating cattle, livestock, and then they are sending it to a processing plant outside of Luling, who's then processing it for us, and we're able to then pick up and then provide ground beef for $1.89. That is amazing. We're able to receive 1,000 pounds a month that we can then layer in ground beef into our recipes. It's amazing the reach of folks that want to make a difference and they don't always know how. Knowing that these ranchers who are having abundancy in their livestock and like wanting to give back, but like, what do I do with a cow? And so to know that that connection could happen, that was just someone who's close to Hungry Soul's family that made that connection for us.
I love HEB. Shout out to HEB, but really shout out to all the businesses that show up and are quieter. They're not maybe intentionally quiet. When HEB goes, they have the huge disaster relief all over the truck. So you see HEB everywhere, right? They just have a lot of resources. But I think it's really incredible what these smaller businesses or these businesses that don't have HEB bags everywhere and their signs. I hear more and more of all these businesses that are showing up and saying, we want to contribute a percentage of our revenue or our product or our services. Yeah. And that sounds amazing.
One of the things Claire walked through for us was the uncertainty that's existing in our education system right now of funding, specifically with our Title I schools. One of our contacts at our school ended up leaving that role. And so it's like, okay, this is a mission critical role for us of who's liaisoning with the families, who's liaisoning with us, letting us know if there's other needs that they have so that we can connect them to other nonprofits. So it's kind of the first time experiencing a gap. Claire jumped all in. So some cool stories there you can share of people that were willing to step in and fill that gap.
We were looking at churches around that school because we found that some of the most willing hearts come from the churches. We reached out to Brentwood Oaks and they were right next to this school. And we were like, hey, we have a need. This is how we work. This is where the gap is. And immediately within the week, they're like, okay, we have a whole team of people that are willing to step in. They want to be a part of this. They want to facilitate delivery. They want to meet the families. They want to be supportive. And it just happened like that. It's been cool to see just how willing the community is to step in. I think Austin just has this incredible spirit about them. And as we're heading into the next school year, a lot of these positions that we rely on, the parent support specialists, the community liaisons, they're kind of up in the air because Title I funding is really up in the air right now. Just knowing that support does exist and there are communities and groups of people that really want to step in is encouraging for us, so that we know that even if those gaps do present themselves, they will be able to be filled. And that's been a beautiful thing to see just the past couple of months, just in that one little instance, like, okay, if this happens again, we know it's going to be okay.
Yeah. I was reading a book about giving in Austin, and it said back in the 90s, the Chronicles of Philanthropy put Austin as one of the lowest cities for philanthropy and giving back. And I just think it has turned a corner, and I don't know when that was, but I think Austin, I've got to go look at some lists from recent years.
We're blessed to have these connections and other nonprofits that are like a Good Works community. Last month, we were at a breakfast at a church up north that had hundreds of nonprofits that were pulled together that did everything from providing books for schools, from elder care, infant care. I mean, spanning the generations of needs here in Austin, and seeing those network and work together. We found out one of our families that we're serving this summer had been without air conditioning for weeks. And we had someone that had donated ice cream. We can't pack ice cream. So it's like, what do we do with this ice cream? We connected with one of our schools and she's like, I'm going to go drive it over right now. While there was a small connection, like you said, of a small business that gave us ice cream, more so than that, it's like we're able to then say, hey, please share these resources with them about the air conditioning, about the apartment issues. Like, they're not alone in that. There's so many other nonprofits that exist solely for those that sometimes are being taken advantage of, which the marginalized often are, and they can get the support they need. And so that's where kind of our heart is in continuing on, like Claire said, in the next school semester, of really lifting up our partner organizations. And oh my gosh, if we can all just target some of these families, we can't take care of all of the food insecurity in Austin. We can't. It's sad to know that, but we can't take care of all the students. That we truly can impact the futures of some by rallying around and supporting some of these families with these additional needs they have.
I think that's a misconception or a myth that many people just think the government takes care of these families. It's great that y'all are stepping up. Okay, so every guest, I ask them to share a good brag. What's something that you're proud of recently that you've done? Who wants to go first?
Just something small that maybe it's because I work with kids and I'm often thinking back to my childhood. But one of my favorite things was getting the mail. And I feel like as I'm around my friends and their young kiddos, I never see mail out. Everything's digital now. If anything, we get mail and it's a stressor. It's like, what junk is there? What can I throw away today that is sent to me? And so I'm trying to bring back mailed birthday cards. I made that a goal last year for all of the kiddos that I'm Auntie Brie to and my godsons, is that they're going to receive a card in the mail, whether it's a gift card, the cash, sticker, something fun. So just to throw back and pay it forward to what my grandparents did for me. They always sent me an awesome card. And there was a note in it, and I raced every birthday to go open the mail to get it. I'm going to bring that back and make that special.
That's a huge good brag. So my dad, the one thing he still does to this day is he sends me, my husband, and my 2 children each individual cards for Valentine's Day.
Oh, stop.
For Mother's Day, for Father's Day, and for birthdays, and for Christmas. So we get these cards. Like, there have been times, this is embarrassing. There have been times where I did not get his Father's Day card out, but he gave my husband his in the mail.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that wasn't great. You want to hear something funny?
What?
Is that I was going through our attic and I keep all these things. And
I kept all mine.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I looked at the last, this is how, I'm telling you, this was like 2 weeks ago that I saw this. 2015, 2016, because I write the year on the back, 2017, they were all the same card. So my dad has a stash somewhere, and I'm about to bust him. He's coming over this weekend from
That's
Katie.
so funny.
And I'm like, okay, he's smart. He's efficient. This is why he got a Father's Day card out ahead of me. But anyway, I just will tell you that is one of like my husband's favorite things about his father-in-law is like we get cards for every holiday. So I think what you're doing is awesome, and you're going to be the best like godmother, auntie, you're going to be loved and adored and remembered forever because
They may only remember the Chick-fil-A gift card inside, but I'm going to create that moment that I had as a kid.
That's great. I really like that. Okay, Claire, do you have a good brag to share?
Yeah, me and my father just recently started a rum business. This week, actually, our website is live, so you can purchase our rum online. It's called Rum 28. It's amazing. No additives, no colors, no nothing. It's just straight from the source. We get it from 4 different countries. My dad is a physicist by trade, and he's really into the science behind distilling. And so we were like, should we start a business together? And so we did. We are officially live now, rum28.com. You can buy our rum.
That's incredible. So 2 things. One is a physicist and his daughter who is into health and nutrition. That seems like a perfect partnership to start a business. I was out of town last week and went to a bar. And so I'm like, okay, there's a huge list of alcohol. And I was like, I don't know, what's that one? They were like, oh, that one's celebrity owned. And I'm like, give me one that's not celebrity owned. I was very adamant. If I was going to have a drink, it was going to be something that wasn't celebrity backed. So Rum 28.
Yes, rum28.com.
What does 28 mean?
It's an ode to the original 28 Caribbean nations.
Starting a business is so hard. It's so hard, and putting yourself out there. So congrats. That's really exciting. That's a good brag. Okay, so now we want to give listeners a chance for bragging rights, and that's how do they show up for Hungry Souls? We know volunteering is a big one and we'll get into more of that. But where is your location that people will show up to volunteer?
We rent space from Bannockburn Church, so 7100 Brody Lane.
So South Austin.
South Austin. We do a lot with a small space, and you've been there. Our groceries get delivered there, and we pack our dry goods there, and we pack our cold goods separate. When it comes to volunteering, I think you've mentioned a few times over how many groceries come through our door. Some of them are being delivered as ones we're ordering. Otherwise, it is just community food drives, business food drives. We had a business shout out to SHI here in Austin that did a competition between each of their floors and donated 3,000 pounds. They had a commercial scale. They weighed every bit of it to see which floor was going to win.
Wait, pounds of what?
Food.
Just anything.
Shelf stable. And we have some basics that we go through. We've got a food drive list that are a lot of our ingredients for crockpot meals of dry goods. There are the canned goods. There's canned beans, dry beans, pasta noodles, you name it. So they shopped our list. So we have a lot of food drives that come in, and just the community comes out. and drops off donations. So if someone's clearing out their pantry, we'll take it. Oftentimes we get unopened spices, which are gold for us, because when you're in a tough financial situation and you're going to the store, you're not adding to your grocery cart spices. But we all know, like, just even salt and pepper. I mean, sometimes we take for granted they have that available. Anyone who's donating just goods from the pantry that they know they're not going to use or haven't used, but they're unopened, we will be able to bless families with that.
A lot of canned foods, a lot of dry foods, a lot of like seasonings, anything that's not open that you're like, oh, you know what? We bought this on a whim and we're no longer going to use it.
I feel like snacks like Costco or the big box snacks. I mean, I've been guilty too. I'm like, this looks amazing and I can get 48 of them for $3.99. But then I stopped caring about those. So if you've only eaten 6, we'll take the rest of those. Create snack bags and such.
And I know that y'all said that those little snack bags and individual snacks, as long as they're unopened, those are great little extra treats.
Absolutely.
That the kids can have over the weekend. That's awesome. Okay. And then, so you can give things. Do you have a list posted online or anything?
Absolutely. We actually have a digital food drive.
Okay.
And it's actually kind of a fun thing on our website that we went in and located the actual costs of the groceries that we are ordering and how many ounces there are. Someone can really see, and we're backing it up. We're saying, so if you shop for the dry goods, the cold goods from there, those are the prices we're spending. So we truly are going to use your dollars well. It also shows the items consistently in need. And then we've got our food drive list there, and there's opportunities on our website at hungrysouls.org to sign up for virtual food drives, but then also to reach out for an organization. I had a cul-de-sac that participated in a food drive. And so I went out there and there was a bin at each of the 6 houses that was sitting there that had our sign, said Hungry Souls. They had all been raising food in their communities.
Yeah. It's a great community activity to bond together as neighbors, as coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And you'd asked about just the volunteer piece. And so much of our volunteer roles are working with the groceries. It's unloading the pallets and setting up the dry goods when your son served. And
yeah, we served on a Tuesday. There's 3 main days to volunteer each week. Can you maybe walk through those and like what time of the day they are each week?
Tuesday mornings are when we are unloading the pallets and we are setting up the tables for assembly lines. So again, if we're packing almost 500 dry bags, that takes a lot of labor and a lot of intentionality to make sure that each of these ingredients that are key to the recipes are making it in the bag. That's the Tuesday night. So the Tuesday morning team is preparing us for the Tuesday night team, which is the
so there's 2 teams on Tuesday.
Yes.
1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. What is like the maximum? What is about the number of volunteers that come in that morning and that evening?
I was just looking over that as we're getting ready to ramp up for the next school semester. It takes about at least 6 on a Tuesday morning to get us set up. For Tuesday night, with all of our roles, it takes almost 35 to 40 volunteers. And that's an intentional time for us to have space for the youth to come out, to be a part of. Sometimes they are needing the community service hours. And then oftentimes, though, it is parents that are wanting to expose their children to something outside of themselves. Wednesdays, we have an afternoon there where we're prepping for Thursday and we're doing projects. It's 10 to 12 Wednesdays. And then Thursday is the big day where we're delivering to schools. In order to get our vans out the door and onto the road, we have to first pack the cold items that are going in, and that varies each week. So we're packing all of the cold bags for each of our families, and then we're loading the vans. And so I got to warn you, there's a lot of math when you serve with us. So it seems like we're always counting groceries, we're always counting bags, we're always counting like what's going in the vans, because at the end of the day, we cannot let down our families. So when we drop off at the schools, we got to have 1 cold bag each and 1 dry bag each for each of our families. And so that's a huge team that's loading our vans, and our amazing van drivers that have regular jobs and are coming and volunteering and don't stop. Like, we have to make them take a day off sometimes. They're like, this is what I do. And so they're the ones that are interacting with our schools the most.
Yeah. And you said you have 6 van drivers, right? That typically rotate, and they are there every Thursday to help deliver.
Yeah, we have 6 routes right now in Austin and just into the at-risk demographic areas. We're heading out east to Del Val ISD. We're heading up northeast to Elgin, and we span the city as far as AISD schools and charter schools that are part of our program.
It's great. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are opportunities to show up.
And reach out if you're a company or you're a group. We love flexing to that. I've come up many times on a weekend with a youth group and made space. We've cleaned the vans. We've cleaned our Hungry Souls area. We've sorted out canned goods.
Well, if the two of you aren't doing it, a volunteer is doing it.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
volunteers, so the
fun.
staff.
It will make it fun.
It's always fun.
I think cleaning can be fun.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we've got volunteer, we've got donate. I know that you mentioned earlier $30 feeds a family for a week. So that's $120 a month. So if you reoccurring donations, that's sometimes better than a one-time pop. If you just put your credit card on file and say you can take $120 a month, not everyone can do that. But if you can, I'm sure it's very meaningful because that's one more family you can take off the wait list.
Oh, absolutely. I'm someone that gives, and I've been faced with that of like, hey, can you be a recurring donor? It's very interesting to think through, what do I waste $30 on? Like, what could I give up? And so where someone can. It's also very interesting that there's a tie-in of money versus donation of groceries, where we'll see such amazing generosity because someone's like, oh, I wish I could support financially, but I just can't with my circumstances, but can I drop off some food? And then we get like almost $50 worth of food that's donated. And so I think there's this mindset of like, but and that's amazing too. We hear that, we respect that. And sometimes, again, the best labor, it saves us money. Like you said, there's so many ways to make a difference.
I don't know. Anyone who goes out and gets a cocktail in Austin, that's like less than 2 cocktails a week.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing what you can just easily spend money on that could go towards something really impactful. $120 a month. I mean, that just shows you how far those dollars go with HEB subsidizing it and with all the volunteers, because I don't know anybody who can feed their family on the weekends, even just at $120 a month. That's impressive. Okay. Volunteer, show up, donate, give. If you have a community that wants to show up, reach out to Bree and Claire. Bree, you'll get the volunteers all connected.
Yes.
There's a couple of events coming up. Would you mind talking about those events where listeners can show up for you guys?
Yeah, September is Hunger Action Month. We're going to be asking for all sorts of food donations and any kind of community involvement throughout the whole month of September. But we are going to be featured at a Round Rock Express game on September 13th. It's a Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a lot of fun. And any tickets that you buy with the code SOULS, SOULS, those proceeds go directly to us. So we have our own little section. Get some tickets with our code. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a blast.
Show up September 13th. I love ways to show up for nonprofits where you get to just go eat and be entertained.
Yes, it's going to be a blast. And then also in October, we have our biggest fundraising event of the year, our Big Fall event. It's going to be October 9th to Thursday night at Pecan Springs Ranch at 6 p.m. It's going to be a blast. We have the Cowboy Auctioneers coming out. It's denim and diamond themed. We have some country music. We've got Pat Green's guitarist going to be out there. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We've got live and silent auctions, raffles. It's going to be a great time.
I love a good theme.
It's our big annual fundraising that really determines what that next year is going to look at. We're very intentional. Shout out to our board, amazing group of men and women that really carry the mantle and the weight of making those financial decisions, of saying yes to new schools and new families, because we're not just going to say yes because of one great donation. We need to make sure we can sustain those families, that we are going to carry them through as long as they need to be in the program, that we can continue to say yes to these same schools that we have relationships with. That's our key time that we're going to know what our expansion is going to look like. Spring is our expansion window where we can look at new school districts. We can really look at the wait list of schools. Like Claire mentioned earlier, we added new middle schools to our program last year in the spring. So this is big for us, and we'd love our community to come be a part of it.
Amazing. Okay, so September 13th, October 9th. Also wanted to mention Texas Stars Hockey. They have been an incredible sponsor of this podcast. They love to give back to those that give. And we have 4 Texas Stars Hockey tickets. Season starts October 10th.
Oh, that's great.
Is there anyone that you guys can think of that you'd love to give those tickets to that help with Hungry Souls?
Immediately, our van drivers come to mind. It's a group of guys. We've got some ladies that jump in too, but they just cross paths each Thursday as they're bringing the van in, another one's taking it back out. To be able to bless them and let them to connect with each other, for them to connect with stories, and to be able to sit after all the moving that they do for us, to be able to sit and enjoy that game, that would be who we would love to bless with those tickets.
Yay, I love that. And y'all have these vans that you can see Hungry Souls on, right? That's your billboard.
Yes.
As these vans. And these van drivers are really getting these foods to the schools and to the children. That's amazing. I really hope they have a great time.
Yes, thank you.
There's one more thing. I know that you just want to maybe touch on the community and how Hungry Souls, you are now trying to get more visibility and more connections. Is that right?
We want to know who you know. So any kind of connection or skill that you have, we want to be your friend. We've been really working the past couple of months to solidify more community connections, because that expands our reach and what we're able to do and what we're able to connect our families to, or what we're able to provide. And on that, even tying back to some of our events, some of these connections are able to help us put these events on in any kind of capacity. We want to know who you know. We want to be connected with your network, with your business, with your job, with the other places that you volunteer at, because just the more connections that we have, the greater our reach can be.
Fantastic. Have you all spoke with Piper Steggy Nelson and her team at I Live Here, I Give Here?
No, I don't think.
Amplify Austin Day. It's the biggest giving
Yes.
day. They organize that.
Okay.
Oh, good people.
So did y'all know that there's 5 T's for nonprofits? Piper had to tell me.
Tell me.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong, but I put myself on the spot.
You did. But go for it. You got this.
Okay, well, there's time, right? Volunteering. There's treasures. That's your money. There's talent. So like, I'm an accountant. If I want to actually go help you with something that I'm skilled at. There is testimony. So I'm going to go shout your name and say, I loved my volunteer experience. That's testimony. And then ties. And ties are the connections you're talking about. Hey, I know someone over here. They would be good to talk to you. So 5 T's. Loved it. You guys, thank you so much. And really, for anyone listening, just go start with a volunteer shift if you can. It's really fun. I spoke with one of the board members' daughters, and we had a great chat the whole time we were bagging groceries. My son enjoyed it. We grabbed pizza afterwards. It became a thing. So really enjoy what you guys are doing. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hungry Souls is proof that small but mighty can change lives. If you want to support their mission, here's how you can show up. Volunteer. Most of Hungry Souls work happens Tuesday through Thursday in South Austin on Brody Lane. On Tuesday mornings, unload pallets and prep dry goods. Tuesday nights, assemble dry bags with youth, parents, and community groups. 35 to 40 volunteers make this happen. Wednesday midday, prep and special projects. Thursday mornings, pack the cold bags and load the vans and deliver to the schools. Tuesday through Thursday, show up for Hungry Souls. If you're a company, school, church, neighborhood group, they'll even flex to weekend opportunities. Think cleaning vans, organizing canned goods, running food drives. You can also donate. $30 feeds a family for a weekend, $120 a month sponsors a family year-round. Even a few skipped coffees or cocktails in Austin can turn into a recurring donation that takes a family off the wait list. You can also shop their digital food drive at hungry-souls.org, where every virtual cart item reflects exactly what they buy to feed families. So your dollars go straight to the table. You can also host a food drive, from pantry cleanouts to neighborhood bin collections to corporate competitions. Like the SHI team that donated 3,000 pounds of food. Every shelf-stable item helps. Unopened spices, snacks, and Costco bulk goodies are gold. Lastly, show up for their events. September 13th. Cheer them on at the Round Rock Express game. Use the code SOULS when you buy tickets, and proceeds go to Hungry Souls. I love events and experiences where you can just give back and go have fun. September 13th, don't forget it. Also, October 9th, the biggest fundraiser of the year at Pecan Springs Ranch, Denim and Diamonds, live music, raffles, cowboy auctioneers. The night determines how many schools and families they can serve next year, so be there. Thank you to Breanna and Claire for such a great interview, and a huge congratulations to their van drivers who are heroically getting food across Austin every Thursday. I hope you enjoy your night out at the Texas Stars hockey game. You've earned it. Thank you, Texas Stars Foundation, for supporting Escape Into a Cause and helping us celebrate the people who give back. Remember, the season kicks off on October 10th. If you want to win hockey tickets yourself, show up for a nonprofit and share it and tag us at Escape Into a Cause or use #GoodBrag, and you can DM us. Or you can sign up at escapeintoacause.com to get matched with a nonprofit you'll love. You will be entered to win. Let's brag about the good we're doing. Thanks to Nightlight Insurance Agency for presenting Escape Into a Cause, and to Todd Thompson for editing and mixing, Corey McCain at Just Push Record Studios, Graham Thompson and Jaden Dyer for the music, and Ashlyn O'Neill for the digital content. Next week, we're escaping into Austin Creative Reuse, a nonprofit turning discarded materials into treasure, inspiring creativity while keeping thousands of pounds of waste out of landfills. You won't want to miss it. I hope you join me next week as we escape into a cause.